My name is Raymond Omollo, born on the 27th of December 1979 in Homa Bay. And of course, I would start with my schooling right from primary. Initially, I began my schooling in Kisumu at Muslim Primary School. At the age of 8, I lost my dad. I had to relocate back to the village. And for me, that was significant in the sense that there was a huge shift, having been brought up as a young boy. And then at the age of 8, that is class 3, losing a parent and going back to the village. Of course, in the village, then I had to join a local primary school called Omollo Primary School. Interestingly, of course, we were the pioneer group. At that point, the school was in class 4, and we went with it until I got to class 6. Of course, at class 6, I had to again shift to another school in Rangwe called Rangi Primary School. And within those formative years, for me, it was critical that a number of things happened in terms of spending time in 3 different schools at the primary level, of course, looking for good results, and we were looking out for schools that would have students who perform better. Of course, from primary, I proceeded to Mbeta High School, where I did my high school, and then subsequently I joined the University of Nairobi. At the University of Nairobi, I joined to pursue statistics, and subsequently, upon completing my undergraduate, I proceeded for my master's, still within the same field, applied statistics. And later on, I went back for a PhD in applied statistics at Maseno University. But along the way, then I also had scholarships to study out of the country. Notably, I went to the University of Washington in Seattle. Away from that, then there is what I've been able to do as a professional, as a statistician. So I began my work at the University of Nairobi, working in research. And thereafter, I proceeded and joined an international not-for-profit organization called DNDI, or Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative. And there I worked as a head of data center and statistician. And a lot of my work involved doing research across the continent, primarily, and also within the country. So in the country, there was a lot of work that we were doing in Baringo, in West Pokot, and parts of Turkana. And then there is the belt that crosses all the way into Uganda, the place called Amudat. So that, for me, was also critical because the research we were doing involved trying to address challenges that affected the communities that were most needy in terms of intervention for treatment. And for members who come from those areas, there is a disease called Kala-Azar. And out of our work, we were able to do a lot in terms of coming up with interventions and even treatments just to improve the welfare of the people who are affected. But besides that, then there are challenges around those areas in terms of security. So again, these are things that we were dealing with on a daily basis in terms of how we design the research, how we conduct the studies, and also how we even recruit and then utilize the treatments to the people upon conclusions of the studies. In Africa, of course, there is work that we were doing in Uganda, work in the Sudan, in the north, of course, eastern Sudan, and then you cross into Ethiopia. And then we also were able to work in Ghana and Benin in West Africa. Now that partly involved the institution that I work for, but also WHO. So that, to me, is information that is important for this committee in terms of just understanding who Raymond is insofar as work is concerned. Of course, away from that, then I've also worked with FAO Somalia, trying to support their nutritional program in the Somalia in terms of looking at the interventions and the famine situation in Somalia. Then after that, I was also privileged to sit in the board of Consolidated Bank as a director, an executive director. And as a board member of Consolidated Bank for 3 years between 2015 and 2018, I was able to chair the Committee on Risk and Credit. At the same time, I also chaired the Committee on Finance. And this was also an interesting period within the financial sector in the sense that that was a period that some of the banks were shut down or collapsed. And we were able to support Consolidated Bank, working with my colleagues at the board and the management, together with the National Treasury, to just keep the bank afloat. Of course, today the bank is still operating, but its challenges, I think, is something that is of public notice. But again, there, as a director, we were able to ensure that we were addressing issues around security of the monies that were held by the bank. Then, as we speak today, I am the Managing Director of Lake Basin Development Authority. And as the Managing Director of Lake Basin Development Authority, part of my responsibility in steering the institution is to ensure that the institution lives up to its mandate, which is to improve the socio-economic development of the region, or the Lake Basin region. Geographically, Lake Basin Development Authority takes care of 18 counties, which is almost half of the entire country in terms of the counties. So you're talking about the entire former Nyanza province, the entire former Western province, and parts of the Rift Valley. And by that positioning, and in an attempt to try to address the mandate of the institution, I've had to work closely, not just with the management and the staff of the institution, but the board, whom I report to, together with the State Department and the parent ministry, in steering the organization to the space that it occupies within the government structure. Now, at Lake Basin Development Authority, I've been able to achieve a number of critical things. Number one is with regards to human resource. When I went to the institution, we were able to review the human resource instruments that had never been touched since 1989. That in itself helped us address the challenges around the staff welfare in terms of their remuneration and also their well-being, as well as also address the issues around staff stagnation, staff promotion. And this we were able to do, of course, working together with the board, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and the Public Service Commission, not to mention the parent ministry, but also the horizontal engagement with the National Treasury. The second achievement, which is almost complete, is the governance structure of the authority, and not just Lake Basin Development Authority, but the sister institutions within the State Department for Regional Development Authority. Today, the law governing or that established the institutions are very old and outdated. In the case of Lake Basin, we have an act of 1979. You have a situation where you have a board of 18 to 20 directors. What we've been able to do, of course, me leading that front, is to engage Parliament, and we were able to engage the committee that we report to. And I've noticed there's one of your members who sits in that committee. And as we speak today, we were able to take the amendments through the first reading. It's unfortunate that we couldn't complete the process because then we had to go to an election. And to me, that is something very significant in terms of looking at the governance structure, but also clearly defining and protecting the mandate of the institution. The third achievement is with regards to trying to help the institution to take care of its establishment across the region, and also meet its mandate to serve the people. A case in point is we have one of our technology transfer centers, which is at the border between the Luos and Kuria of Migori County. This is more or less like a buffer zone, because over the years there's been a lot of conflict between the Luos and Kurias. And we set up this specific center, it's called the Chota, to first of all demonstrate to the communities what is possible in terms of agriculture and generally in terms of farming and best practices. And in a way that has helped to address the challenge around insecurity within that part of the region. Now, Chairman, away from that, then I have been involved in a number of consultancy work. And given my background in statistics, is my capacity to be able to design instruments that allows better data collection, have efficient systems for analyzing data, but also being able to properly communicate and articulate results that come out of those exercises. Now, looking at my vetting exercise that you are undertaking, and of course, if I am successful, that is, if you approve, of course, with concurrence of Parliament, then this is what I'll be bringing on the table in terms of my academic qualifications and experience in terms of work and the understanding of the job that I have been nominated to undertake. And part of that job includes not just ensuring that Kenyans are secure and safe, but then Kenyans also have an environment in which they can be able to go about their businesses and being treated impartially, irrespective of what their political position may be. But also, I'm bringing in the qualities of a team player, someone who has a capacity to work not just with juniors within the State Department, but also to work across government agencies to support the government in coordinating and implementing its policies. But also the experience working with Parliament, working with the National Treasury. You can count on me to be that individual who would be consultative, would have an open door policy, but also work by the rules, not to go against what the rules or the laws of the land dictate. Thank you.
Thank you.